There, I'm Ernie Svensson, and I'm going to talk to you today about how you can make your practice run smoother and how you can be happier. And that happens when you work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to talk to you about what I call LawFirm Autopilot. And here is a picture of me, a slide that has my bullet point achievements if you would like to study it. But I would like to move on, and I'm sure you would as well. So here's what we're going to talk about in this presentation. First, I'm going to give you a little background about myself, not the bullet point stuff, and help you understand why what I tell you is something you might want to listen to, because who knows, maybe I don't know anything. Then we're going to talk about three important truths that I think everyone must realize about the modern world that we live in. We're going to talk about business and modern businesses, and the practice of law, besides being a profession, is also a business. And if you don't run it well, then you can't keep practicing law because you won't have any clients and you won't make any money. So we'll talk about that. And then if there are any questions, I'll tell you how you can get in touch with me. First, you can email me at ernie@lawfirmautopilot.com, and I will respond to every email. So what about my background? Well, here's my resume. I started working as a waiter at a restaurant in New Orleans called Commander's Palace. After college and before law school, I learned a lot there about dealing with people, about being realistic with human nature, about psychology, about a whole bunch of things, getting results, about multitasking. So that probably helped me with, I'd say, 40% of what I did as a practicing lawyer. But before I could become a practicing lawyer, I had to go to law school, obviously, but then I clerked for a federal judge in New Orleans, a trial judge. I did that for 2 years, learned a whole lot about the realities of how cases get decided, about which arguments are persuasive, about how bad many lawyers are at communicating what they want. And presumably I learned how to communicate better. Then I went to work for a big firm in New Orleans, did that for 18 years doing commercial litigation. I left there to start a solo practice really because of technology, and technology let me do things I wouldn't otherwise have been able to do, and to do them cost effectively, like, for example, have a paperless practice, automate a lot of things. And in doing that, a lot of lawyers asked me how could they do this, solo and small firm lawyers primarily. And I helped them, and some said they wanted to pay me, and I got paid. And I had this side gig of doing that, and at some point I realized I really enjoyed that more. That seemed to be helping more people. There were less friction points with just helping people directly than there was in trying to do litigation. So then I became a full-time consultant, which I've been doing for 12 years. So big question, how will this presentation help you? Well, one, I think it's going to give you a better understanding of what your practice can be and what the challenges are. It will help you understand how technology can improve your practice. I will dispel some common myths about technology, which are some things that people think technology can do and some things they think they can't do with technology. Anyone can leverage technology, but many people don't, and I'll explain why. And then I'll say what the best first steps are to take. All right, so here are three important truths that everyone must grasp. Number one, lawyers are knowledge workers. There's a management consultant named Peter Drucker who's very famous. He operated in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and he coined the phrase knowledge work. And he said that a knowledge worker is somebody who works in an office as opposed to a factory, and that knowledge work involved people thinking and working with their knowledge. Well, according to his definition, lawyers are classic knowledge workers. The problem with knowledge work is that it has evolved, and now we have to deal with technology, specifically digital technology. And that digital technology is disrupting how we do our knowledge work. So what that means is that we need to adapt to the ways of doing knowledge work in this modern world. So we need better ways of doing this. We can't just analogize from the old office, work model. We have to adapt and modify. Now, in any knowledge business, there are three elements. There is operations, which in a modern knowledge business involves automation, outsourcing, and the use of systems, which is the most important thing. And that's not new. That existed in the office world, that existed in the factory world. but now we need to update these systems and modify them so that they work in the digital world. Then there is marketing, and all marketing works with trust building, especially for knowledge workers like lawyers who are in a relationship with their clients, and the clients have to share sensitive information. So you need to build trust. And if you don't do that, in your marketing, you're probably going to drop the ball later on. So everything depends on trust building and rapport building and so forth. So that's what marketing involves. And yes, you can lower the cost of it and reach more people through the web, but you need to do it strategically, and you need to understand realistically what needs to be done. And then you need to use your mind, okay? Surprise, surprise, this is knowledge work, so you have to use your mind. And you use your mind to solve problems, to create strategies, and to think things through in a creative way, which means that you try things and maybe they don't work, and you try other things. That's the nature of creativity. You're trying to figure out how to do things. You're not exactly sure how to do things. And especially when it comes to running a modern tech-driven knowledge business, you're constantly having to be creative or find people who can help you think this through. So that is all what I call working smarter. And working smarter is dependent on technology, yes, but it's dependent on you thinking better. And if you leverage your knowledge and you leverage technology, then you can get better results with less effort, right? So knowledge work requires thinking. This is the most important thing to understand. I'm going to keep coming back to this because if you're not getting the results you want, it's because either you don't know enough about how to get them, in which case you need to learn or find people who do and progress, right, instead of spinning your wheels. So there's a really useful visual model for how things connect up in this digital world. And we start with data. Data is a single fact. Data is a single entry in a database record. Data, can be statistical, studies, but each different data point by itself is meaningless. And you can collect a lot of bad data, and you don't want to do that. But assuming you have good data, it's not meaningful in and of itself individually. You have to assemble it. And if you assemble it, prioritize it, filter out the bad stuff, that's information. That becomes informative. So in my terminology, I don't like to say, we have information overload. Mostly we have data overload, but yeah, we do have some information overload. But you can use your data and information to support your knowledge. So that's what you want to be doing, is using your knowledge effectively to solve client problems and not get trapped down in the weeds wrangling data and information. And that's where most lawyers get stuck, because first of all, they're not even aware that that's what's going on. They just are putting out fires and they're not thinking about what fires they're putting out. Well, if you're wrangling data and information, you're looking for things, lost files, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing only the things that require a law license to do. And the thing to remember here is that data and information have low value. Knowledge and wisdom, which is a higher level of knowledge, where you get insights, that has high value. So that's what you want to optimize your knowledge business for. Now, I love this quote by Simon Sinek, who is a business consultant. And he says that people who know why they do what they do can work smarter. If you're just going to try to do things and not think about why they should be done or why they should be done in a certain way, then yeah, you're going to work harder. And that's what most lawyers I see, are doing. It's what most knowledge workers are doing. But when you start to think about why do we do it this way? Maybe we could do it differently. Maybe we could do it better this way. When you think along those lines, you will over time be working smarter and creating more efficiency and effectiveness. Now, efficiency and effectiveness need to be distinguished. And here I go back to Peter Drucker, the business consultant I mentioned earlier. He says that efficiency is doing things well, doing things right, which means optimizing, automating, all that stuff. But before you do that, you need to say, well, am I doing the right things? Does this even need to be done at all? Because there's nothing so useless, he says, as being really efficient in doing something when that something is something you shouldn't do at all, right? So there are many things that people are doing. They shouldn't be doing it at all. They shouldn't be doing it now. And if you don't set things up, you're wasting time, and time is your most precious resource. So operations for knowledge workers involves automation, which will be powered by digital technology. And pretty much everything we deal with now is, if you're the more free from paper you are, the more you can automate. So, if you're kind of still stumbling around with paper, figure out how to optimize that so you can automate more. Also, you want to be delegating. And if you don't have people that work for you, you can hire people through outsourcing. And then you can work effectively with those people through cloud-powered virtual remote practice type workflows. But the most important thing is to use systems that are powered by documented workflows. You need to document workflows in writing in a document that you can update easily. So that means a Word document, not a piece of paper. And if you document your systems and update them over time, your practice will steadily improve. It's like, compound interest on money that you put in the bank. Over time, it'll really powerfully grow, but in the beginning, it grows slowly. That's what happens with systems. But every lawyer who's happy with their practice, who's making effective use of automation and outsourcing and other things, they're doing it because they're using systems. They're thinking systematically. All right, so automation. Best options for doing this are anything involving creating text, formatting of text, which is why you want to use styles in Word or WordPerfect or any word processing program. And then you want to use spell check and you want to use grammar check. And now we're getting artificial intelligence that's helping us use language better, easier. That's great. Okay, so that's all text-based. And there's a really great tool for doing this called Text Expander. It used to only be for Macs, but now it's for Macs and PCs. And the repository of data that you use to make it work is in the cloud. So you can work with it anywhere on any computer easily. You just log in and it does its thing. And basically its thing is that you type a little keyword or a few characters, and then it'll expand out to your email address, your work email address, your home email address, your home address, your business address, your phone numbers, anything you want, any kind of text you want it to spit out, it will do it. And it will do it anywhere. It will do it in your email program, in your word processing program, in your databases, anywhere you need text to be pumped in, it will do it. And like I said, it's cloud-based. So you can even share that data among your team so that once you define the words that are going to be spit out, you update it in one place and everybody gets the benefit of it. This is a tool that takes time to learn to use. And so a lot of lawyers won't use it, give up on it too quickly. But I think it's the most powerful tool for anybody using a computer. I just use it all the time, all day long. It saves me hours a week, probably, certainly hours a month by using it. And it makes my life easier. And it means that anything that it spits out is done perfectly because that's what automation is. So you want to take advantage of this tool. It's very cost effective. You can try it for free for 14 days or 30 days, whatever they're doing now, and see how it works. And you'll see, hopefully, and you'll stick with it. The other thing you want to automate is scheduling. I use Acuity for this, but most people seem to be using Calendly these days. So I would say Calendly is probably a better place to start if you're not using this already. But if you are using it, you probably can improve on it and go back to it and see what else it can do, because these tools, they get developed and they create more features, or there were things in there that you didn't pay attention to when you were first starting out because you couldn't pay attention to everything. So this is fertile ground for automation, and I recommend you do it. Now, if you're reluctant to use automated scheduling, that's a mindset problem, and you need to think about this because this is where you're going to get traction. If you're spinning your wheels, sometimes it's because you're not willing to try something new. And if you look around and see a lot of other lawyers doing this and ask them why it's beneficial, that will help you get over your mindset problem. Processing your email is important because we all get email and we all get bogged down with it. If your inbox is overloaded, you need to look into how to filter things that come in, filter them into the right place, and that can be done through automation. There's a lot I could say about this, but I have a whole course on this. So this is important, but I don't want to go down deeply into this other than to say that this is an area that's fertile ground for automating and filtering and all that other stuff. And pretty much every lawyer I see could do better with this. It's taken me a long time to get better at this. And even I am always thinking, is there something I could do to make this better and easier? And there usually is. And sometimes it's new technology that comes out. So pay attention to email. Outsourcing, your best options for outsourcing are things that are easy to outsource quickly to somebody that you don't need to tell how to do their job. So one good example of this is a receptionist. A virtual receptionist is somebody that's going to answer your phones, do it really well. You don't need to tell them how to do it. They'll figure it out. You just need to give them the authority, connect your phone system to theirs. I recommend Smith AI, and I know it works well because I use it. There are other services out there. You can try them. One thing I see is people try these services and they'll say, oh, well, I had trouble with this. The phone didn't work or something happened. Well, look, technology isn't going to work well all the time. And one person telling you that they had a bad experience is data. It's not information. When you have several people telling you the same thing, that can possibly become informative. But just remember to keep thinking about how people evaluate things. I only recommend things that I've evaluated and seen that there's a lot of good information about this working well for a lot of different lawyers. So I recommend Smith AI. There's other services you could try. I'm sure they work great. But if you want one and know that I recommend it, this is the one I'd recommend. Getting legal help is pretty easy now. You can engage a company called lawclerk.legal, and that is the URL that you would find them with. So if you try to Google law clerk, you're not going to find them. But if you Google lawclerk.legal, you will find the company. And I have resources that are free where all these links are included. I'll tell you about those later. But Law Clerk Legal is run by 2 lawyers in Nevada. They're still practicing, and they had the outsourcing problem of finding other lawyers to help them on a part-time basis, on an as-needed basis, or on a continuing basis. And they set up the model for themselves. Then they start sharing it with other people. And so it makes it really easy to get in there and find other lawyers to help you do whatever you need a lawyer to help you to do. Like I said, whether it's just for, a couple of weeks or on an ongoing basis, or you use them for a while and then you realize you don't need that work anymore. But there are there's solo lawyers who have set up a team of people to do different kinds of work for them in different practice areas if they need work in different practice areas. And they orchestrate all this through Law Clerk Legal. And I don't know any other company that's doing this the way they are, that's at the level and delivering consistently good results, where I have a lot of data and information. So I recommend them, and it costs nothing to set up an account. So I think everybody should set up an account, at least get a baseline understanding of how it can help you, and you'll start to realize how it can help you if you think this through. We don't really need as much help with secretarial stuff generally, because we can use voice dictation, we can use remote dictation services if you want to go that far. But what we really do need help with is somebody who can kind of tackle a bunch of different tasks that are different kinds of tasks. And so I call that an executive assistant. And the company that does this really well is Chatterboss. I've used other virtual assistant companies for this over the time, and either they fizzled out, or they got too expensive, or the constraints of how they worked were too cumbersome, and I couldn't recommend them. So Chatterboss is really good because they have a flexible billing model. They have I think it's a monthly requirement of 5 hours per month, I think is what it is. And that's pretty minimal. And their folks bill by the minute. You can see they're billing every day. If you need help in a particular specific area, they'll find you a specialist for that you can use for a short amount of time or an ongoing basis. And they also have like a backup for every one of the people that works for you. So if you have an executive assistant, you get an executive assistant and then a backup to that person that your executive assistant creates procedures, and so everybody can see the procedures and work on things if your assistant gets sick. And you can have access to the procedures. So if you don't want to document your procedures, this is a good way to get going with that. And they will make sure that you're successful. I really trust this company. They've really thought it through, so I know I can recommend them, and I use them, like I said. Then there's miscellaneous stuff like Fiverr, which I definitely recommend. You go check it out, and you can outsource some small tasks there. Fancy Hands is good, but it's a subscription-based service. And then there's Upwork, which is higher level, harder to figure out. So I wouldn't get into those miscellaneous ones unless you really need to. I would start with the other stuff first. Then as far as systems building, which is the most important thing, you need to document the work that you do. You need to document your procedures. When you hear SOPs, standard operating procedures, the term of art here is procedure. You could call it a checklist, but let's just call it procedure. And if you're going to document these procedures, I recommend you start with a proper tool, a tool built for this purpose. A tool built with the purpose of documenting it and also taking into consideration that you might want to assign work, that you might want to only let certain people in certain groups have access to certain procedures to make it easier for them to not get overwhelmed, and also maybe to share things in a way that protects sensitive information if you care about that when your procedures are being used. But a proper tool built for this purpose is what you need. This is where, in my knowledge and wisdom, I've seen lawyers not get results they wanted because they're trying to use a tool that wasn't built for this purpose. A task management tool is not built for this purpose. A project management tool like practice management software for lawyers is not built for this purpose. It can be kind of roughly used for this, but it's not built for this purpose, so it's not going to work as well over time. You're going to paint yourself into a corner. You're going to find problems as you start to get more robust with this. So you need to use the right tool. There are several different ones, but Sweet Process is the one that's most cost effective for small business owners like lawyers. And while it might not appear cost effective if you go to their website, because it says it's $99 a month for up to 20 people, and you might say, well, I don't have 20 people and I don't want to pay $99 a month. They have an offer where you can pay $390 per year, so you have to commit to pay per year, but they will let you use it with up to 8 people. And I think every small firm, solo lawyer is going to have at least 3 or 4 people you're going to want to work with, and that's because you're going to be using outsourcing. And so once you learn how to use this tool to share these procedures with people that work with you easily and quickly, then this is the tool you want to use, something like this. And other tools will charge like $12 a month, but they don't give you a break if you add people. So you really quickly start spending more than you would with Sweet Process. So just consider the future. Don't paint yourself into a corner. Use the right tool. This is one I know works, so I can recommend it. And there's a 14-day free trial, but they'll give you a 28-day free trial with that $390 a year offer. They gave me a link. I can send it to you if you want to use my link, but you can ask them and they'll give you the same thing. But this is what I would recommend. Then I would just keep refining this over time. This is what you have to do. I mean, it's not exciting. It can be boring, but constantly improving how you describe the work needs to be done as you learn how to do the work better or see the flaws in your description. That's where you're playing the long game. That's what you need to do. And if you do that, then you can more easily assign and delegate this work. And of course, you will have to expect that things won't work out all the time. That's just part of the process. But this systems building is where everything magical can happen. I would dedicate the next 3 years to documenting systems as much as possible, and then learning how to take that documentation and use outsourcing. And that's where you're going to start to see mind-boggling improvement. And all of that is what it takes to make your operations run more smoothly, run more easily, and you be less involved in it. Now, let's talk about marketing. As I said, you want to get more clients, you want to get better clients, and the way to do this is to think about marketing. For lawyers, referrals are the best way to get new clients, but you can amplify the referrals you get or improve the quality of referrals by reaching more people that can trust you or reminding more people that they can trust you. And you can do this very easily and cost effectively by sending out a monthly email newsletter that, if you use a service like ConvertKit, which is the one I recommend, the one I use, it's free for up to 1,000 names. So you can start using it for free and sending out a monthly little reminder email. It doesn't need to be complicated. And if you do that, you'll get more referrals. It's guaranteed. Every lawyer does this. Everybody that does this gets more work. It just works for the obvious reason, if you think about it, which is you need to remind people that you exist, that you care. Remind them what you do. Remind them how you solve problems. If you do that, you'll get more business. And then you can easily add more people to your list and get more work more easily over time. Now, for folks that don't know you from Adam, yeah, having a website or using online ads can help you get attention, can build awareness and so forth. But it's harder to get those people to trust you. So you need to think about trust building, and you need to be realistic when you think about what happens with trust building. And I see too many lawyers focusing on SEO and running ads and Facebook ads and Google ads, and they never stop and think about what's the trust building component to this, which if you think it through and use email marketing and automate this process, but doing it realistically, you can have amazing success with your marketing and basically make it to where you don't have to do any marketing other than send out your monthly email newsletter and have your website have some content and information that helps build trust. And then you won't need to even touch your marketing. It just works like kind of on a flywheel, an autopilot. That takes time to get going, and you have to optimize for trust, but that's what you want to do. So the thing to keep in mind is that we can't change the fact that the world is changing all the time. We can't stop that. We can't change that. It's happening faster because of technology, because of digital technology. And because of technology, there's a lot of uncertainty about the technology itself and about the changes that it's going to bring. And of course, technology is complicated, so it's making our world complicated, and that's prevalent. And we can't change any of that. So what do we want to be doing here? What's the solution? Well, we do want to automate our workflows, our text output, transmitting emails. We want to delegate as much as possible. We want to work virtually with people. We want to outsource as much as possible. And we want to be mindful about things that we're doing that don't make sense, that are ineffective. We don't want to optimize things that shouldn't be done at all, right? And this means that we always need to be thinking strategically and creatively. And that is what I think is working smarter. And I think that's how you become happier over time. I call that LawFirm Autopilot. Just a catchy name. Now, if you want guidance, I have a free resource. A lot of lawyers say, well, okay, this is great, but what are my next steps? Okay. Well, if you get this free guide, it's a PDF download. It will revisit a lot of the stuff that I covered. It'll give you the links, so you can click on the links and go there and find those things. There'll be some resources I didn't mention, and I'll go into more detail on some of the ones I did mention. And after you get this, I will send you about 3 to 5 emails to also reinforce what's in the guide and also tell you a few more new things, because I know you're busy and I know that you need to have some things reinforced. So I've made this as efficient and as effective as I can so that people can get started and get traction. And, I'm not asking for any money. I'm just, here's what you need to know. Like, this presentation is good. Hope you enjoy it, but I know you'll leave and forget what I said or need additional information. So that's in this PDF resource. You can get it either by emailing me and asking me for it. My email address is ernie@lawfirmautopilot.com, or you can just go right to lawfirmautopilot.com, the website, and you can check it out there. So that's it. That's what you need to do. I hope that helps. I'm here to help you if you want more help. And with all that, I'll just say thank you for listening. I know your time is valuable, and I hope that you found this presentation to be value and worth your time.